Good afternoon. My name is Carolina Galeano, and welcome to today's Town Hall meeting. We're here at the Science Center of the Rockville campus, where we'll be taking a number of questions. And some questions have already been submitted in advance, but I want to invite all of you to raise your hand whenever you're ready to ask a question. And for those of you watching online, don't forget to go to montgomerycollege.edu/town hall to submit your questions for Dr. Williams right there. Just make sure you don't save it for the very last minute. And lastly, do not forget to always state your name and let us know if you're a student or what department you work here at the college. So with that, I'm going to leave you with Dr. Williams, who has some initial remarks for us.
Wonderful. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. So fantastic to see all of you, and for everyone who's watching, thank you for being here. It's been such a fantastic day, and I'll probably get to that a little later, but it's always a fantastic day here at Montgomery College. As you heard, welcome to the Spring Town Hall. I want to first acknowledge all of the activity around the strategic plan refresh that has occurred. So many individuals across the college and within the community have been involved in this process, just through dedicated time and effort, hearing from individuals, knowing that now is such a wonderfully appropriate time to refresh what is a visionary plan, MC 2025, and that we are taking steps to do that. It's just fantastic to see all the time and effort to go through this process and chart a path forward. And a special shout out to the Strategic Plan Refresh Advisory Committee, SPARK, for all of their work. As I mentioned, there are going to be forums both this week and next, and we definitely need your continued feedback so that we can continue to advance the college. You know, conducting this refresh is it's a really a powerful step in aligning the college's strengths with the needs of our students and our community. And we know within our community there's so many different individuals and groups that we're seeking to serve. So let's continue to come together, provide feedback, and we can continue to advance the college. The shout out, you can do it online too. You don't physically have to be anywhere to let your voice be heard. Well, I guess kind of you physically would be somewhere, but you can be online, so you don't have to be in a certain space. And so just visit the website, give us your thoughts, and that would be great. As we work on the refreshed strategic plan, I will say this, several of us went to Achieving the Dream conference last week, which was really inspiring. And Achieving the Dream is an organization that Montgomery College has been involved with for several years now. They are dedicated to helping community college catapult into the future, helping us better serve our students and the residents who we seek to serve, through a really data-informed approach that is also steeped in equity. So it was really fantastic to be there with so many like-minded individuals while we're in the process of refreshing our strategic plan. It really just couldn't have been more timely, as the themes of the conference were access, momentum, mobility, and community impact. And so these, as you probably are listening as I share this, these echo many of the outcomes that we're currently discussing during our strategic plan refresh. And actually, one of the ATD speakers, Achieving the Dream speakers, was Dr. Raj Chetty, whom I've mentioned before, and I've shared some of his work. He has a team of people. It's not just his work, but it's fantastic. He's a Harvard economist who studies social connectedness, education, income, and economic mobility, among other components of our life and our society. And his work dovetails with the colleges in that it really seeks to shed light on and explain how social connections, income, education, and institutional discrimination impact intergenerational economic mobility, and how closing equity gaps can change these dynamics, right? I mean, words and phrases that ring very true to us here at Montgomery College. And I think we've all shared this sentiment, and it's always good to kind of refresh and reintroduce. Data is really key here, right? When we look at these factors and we look at the path forward, And as we continue to use more data-informed strategies to eliminate equity and opportunity gaps, we will also identify and bring to scale the equitable and impactful practices in access, completion, and post-completion success. And what do we mean? We say bring to scale, right? For all students, for everyone who attends Montgomery College and those who we seek to serve. And I'll get a little bit deeper into what some of those questions might be that I know all resonate with each of us. At the same time, when we look at access, completion, post-completion success, we will grow experiential learning opportunities and employment connections so that students will leave the college with in-demand skills and a plan for their professional pathway. Right? Our goal is to address equity and opportunity gaps from multiple angles. All of them data informs, and that's a powerful paradigm when that's our North Star, right? And we have strategies that fall underneath that and other, and goals that, those strategies are supporting, but how we're addressing equity and opportunity gaps, how we're creating scalable opportunities for all students, how we are eliminating those gaps and simultaneously creating pathways and mechanisms for all students to experience even greater success. So one of the things that we think about when we're talking about improving access to education is creating the linkages that people get in terms of the jobs and family sustaining wages, right? This is one example, right? We also know that ensuring that students learn how to learn, for that time when their job changes, there's a lot going on about, AI, AR, VR, so many different components that are changing the scope of what we and others do. So it's critical that we continue to teach students how to learn and learn how to learn. So when their jobs change, they can adapt, right? And with that, we know that full complement when a student leaves is being civically engaged. Right? So yes, we want them to have a credential of economic value that leads to a family sustaining wage. And yes, we want them to learn how to learn so they can adapt and learn fast and love that experience. And we also want them to become civically engaged. And that's another critical component of our efforts. So as Spark looks at how to refresh our planning for the future, elements from Dr. Chetty's work should be amplified in our minds with several questions. And a few of those questions, as I promised a few moments ago, I would get to. So when we think about some of those questions, do all of our students have the connections that bring them into contact with professional opportunities like experiential learning, internships, and mentorship? Right? Do all our students have the targeted audience or targeted guidance to plan for academic achievement and to navigate the credential pipeline that fits their goals? Right? Do all of our students have the equitable academic support that they may need to fill the gaps created by inequitable policies that disproportionately impact our historically underrepresented and marginalized populations? Right? These are just a few questions that I know we think about deeply and that help to guide and drive our work. And all of these elements have, they have to work together simultaneously to achieve the outcomes we all want for our students, right? Which is post-completion success, right? We want them to be successful after they leave Montgomery College. Like, that's why we're here. So these are questions that I know are informing Spark's work as they circulate through our entire college. I will be answering some of them. We're together with all of you with the strategic plan refresh. I encourage everyone, again, to contribute to those conversations. There's a few more minutes here before we open it up to questions. We talk about collective effort, right? And the strategic plan refresh is one of those opportunities for collective effort. And I'm also pleased to share some good news about our efforts to enhance access and completion. And for now we are about 4 full weeks into the spring semester, and I'm happy to share, for those who have not heard, that we're about 1% up in the number of students who are attending Montgomery College this spring when compared to the number of students who attended Montgomery College last spring, in spring 2022. So my extreme appreciation and gratitude to everyone who has contributed to this effort. And then to put this in perspective, the last time that we saw a spring to spring increase was in 2012, right? So you're doing it. Together, we're doing it. It's absolutely, fantastic. On average, our students are also taking more credits this spring, right? So with the increased attention to access and completion, the increased attention to impacting lives, it's just evident that we are on a positive path. And so we should keep this momentum moving forward. In terms of how students are taking classes, currently about 63% of classes are face-to-face, 21% are distance and asynchronous, and 16% are remote, so in a synchronous format. So we can see how we're moving, right? We're in a much different place than we were 3 years ago, and definitely 2 years ago and a year ago. And that speaks to us really identifying the needs of our students and those who we seek to serve, and creating educationally purposeful opportunities for them, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And we need to make sure that continues, that we're always seeking to serve the students and fulfill their needs. And I know it's really exciting because in some components of this, we're just starting some work. And then in some components, we're continuing promising practices, successful strategies that we know work. But there's also this energy around, what can we do that's new? What's different? What have we not even started? So it's this fantastic energy around all these components in this entire continuum. So again, I'm thankful to everyone who has contributed their expertise and absolutely their grit. The college is about creating equitable opportunities, and our spring numbers are identifying that we're on a great path. And that's just a fantastic accomplishment to celebrate, and we need to celebrate accomplishments because everyone here, everyone there, we all work extremely hard. So thank you all. Again, finally, I would like to give a shout out to another goal of the college, which is to enrich the community we serve through civil dialogue. I shared a few moments ago about civic engagement, having individuals who are contributing to the public good after they're leaving Montgomery College. And I've noticed just over the past month, I'm just taking the past month in particular, just how much energy there is for robust dialogues about critical current issues facing democracy, right? Equity, inclusion, and social justice among them. And when I look at the terrific research by faculty participants in the Smithsonian program who are pairing social justice and COVID conditions, there are powerful insights in regard to equity and what our path forward could be. When I see people gathering across our campuses in discussions of race and violence and policing, it speaks loudly to the justice principle in our community. And I just want to take a moment to pause. This happens during the kind of more formal engagements that we have, that everyone sees and you get the emails from. And I also know, walking around the college, that this just, it happens. It happens when faculty members are walking with students after or before class, right? It happens, when tutors or counselors are talking with students during sessions. It just happens organically, and it also happens in these very formal contexts. So I just want to call that out and bring that to light. One other piece kind of with this is, also when I hear about, the Capitol Police talking about what their experiences mean for democracy, and our guest historians talking about the legacy of Thomas Jefferson and his role and contribution to slavery in the history of America. I'm deeply proud that our community is so dedicated to diversity, equity, inclusion, pursuing anti-racism, really embracing our history, because we know that we can use that to catapult us into our future, a future that we all want to be better than our present. So thank you again for these conversations. They serve us as thinkers and as participants in a wider community, and I look forward to even more of these discussions. And before we open it up to questions, Carolina, I will say that some of us spent the morning, Student Advocacy Day. And so some of us, speaking of being engaged and, contributing to the public good and just democratic principles, several of us spent the room or in the room and watching, spent time in virtual rooms with students, faculty, and staff, talking with members of our state delegation. And it was absolutely fantastic. The students, as always, are the stars of the show, as you should be. And you were sharing your stories with courage, with transparency, with an unapologetic dedication to social transformation, to leveraging your Montgomery College experience to change your life and change the world. And that was just so uplifting to hear that I'd be remiss if I didn't share that before we went into some questions. So it's great to see everyone. I'm going to kick it back over to Catalina.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And just as a reminder, if you have a question, raise your hand, flag me, and that will come to you. But if you're watching online, be sure to go to montgomerycollege.edu/town hall. Our first question comes from Elizabeth Schlackman, librarian for health sciences, communications, and special programs at the MC Library. Why does the college not close on all state holidays? The ones missing are President's Day, Columbus Day, and Veterans Day. This is an added burden for working parents to have to arrange childcare or take leave to cover days when schools are closed.
Wow, thank you. And name again, please?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. As a proud MCPS parent who worked on President's Day, it was yesterday, I do understand the question on multiple levels. And I appreciate the question, and those questions run through my mind as well. So I will. It's a bit of an interesting component in the sense of how the college is considered a state entity agency in some aspects, but not all aspects. So some aspects, such as like a retirement system, minimum wage schedule, state entity, state agency. But when it comes to holidays, we have the latitude, the flexibility to really, create that schedule that's based on our academic calendar, right? Pursuing the goals of the college. So for instance, one of the ways in which we do that is we have a week off, right? In December, right? The college, for most parts, it closes, right? That doesn't happen at other state entities, agencies, right? We have a few more actual days in terms of holidays. State holidays have about 12, and we have 14 total. So it's complex, but that's the rationale, is we really try to create a holiday schedule which is done in collaboration. It's not done in isolation. That really lends itself to us accomplishing our goals and jives with the academic calendar. So,
our next question is from Tanya Edelman from the Office of the Vice President and Provost in Germantown. Please provide an update on the East County Education Center. Are we still on track for a fall 2023 opening? What specific programs and services will we be offering?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that question. So, yes, we are still on track for a fall 23 opening. I do want to share with that, as we start to think about, or continue to think about, education in terms of just-in-time education, educational opportunities, and as opposed to just in case, and that is coming from, an author that's not mine. All right, so I don't want to be trademark infringement or picking up on that. But think about the idea that fall 2023 is most likely in the latter part of fall. And so we stand up non-credit opportunities prior to credit opportunities, but there may be some accelerated components there credit-wise, but we are definitely seeking to open in fall of 2023 at this point in time. We're excited. We're having conversations with WorkSource Montgomery and other community partners so that we can have co-locations and really provide resources that we know community members would benefit from. In terms of the programs, we really want to speak to, as we do at Montgomery College, the workforce needs. So when we look at IT, cybersecurity, nursing, CNA, business entrepreneurship, these are the kind of programs that we're looking at. And I think Mr. Collette, I have it. So 11 classrooms, 7 labs, community engagement center, a Raptor Central, right? Truth, racial healing, and transformation center. So we are looking to make the education center a robust opportunity that is going to create more access to education for our students and our residents in the eastern part of the county.
Any questions? If not, remember you can submit them at montgomerycollege.edu/town hall. So we have a question that was submitted by Jill Kronstadt, Professor of English and Reading. And the question is, I'm sending this question on behalf of the students in my English 101 011 class at Germantown. They have been talking about the adjustment to college and they wonder a few things. What were you like as a college student? How did you deal with stress and time management? What did you do when you felt stuck on your goals or your direction? And what do you do now?
Next question. All right. How much time do we have? All right. So was the first one first?
Yeah,
what was it?
What were you like as a college student?
All right. So I first generation college student. It was all very new to me. There was a lot going on. I had a family situation that kept me very close to home, actually, in the hometown where I grew up, because both my mother and brother had gone through some serious medical situations. So for me, a lot of undergrad was a little bit of a whirlwind, spending time in a college environment, spending time in a home environment, and I did the best I could. I did the best, but I didn't really know how to leverage the opportunities that were at the college in order for me to succeed. And I had to find that out the hard way, which means I didn't do as well as I could have all the time. And that was because I was distracted with other things. And it really took, I think we all probably have one person or a few people, whether you have that person now or later in life. And, really my older brother, we were both first generation college students. Neither of our parents went to college. But he was like, he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, and I was like, "I'm still in school at my GP. I'm not, I'm still here." And he said, "Well, this is," he said, "This isn't, it's not going to get it. It's not, there's resources that you could utilize, and I'm thankful that I had that level of support, intervention, care, and compassion from someone who I trusted and was able to be vulnerable with and listen to be able to actually utilize the support and resources that were there." I used to make a list a lot back when Post-it notes were a thing. I think one of the questions was, what do I do when I get stressed? Yep. And now everything is, for those who know me, it's pretty much electronic. It's on an iPad or something. But I would love making lists, because the pleasure, for those, I see people in the room, the pleasure of just crossing something off, you're like, yes, I did that. So even at the end of the day, if it's one thing, I had the pleasure of like, okay. it provided me with a positive reinforcement, a sense of accomplishment, energy that I would, I was doing something. I was being productive, even if it was only one thing. And I'll say the other last piece really quickly is I would set time frame for things. So if I'm going to work on something, I would dedicate time frame for like an hour. I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to celebrate that accomplishment. But that's what I'm going to do. And now that depended on the subject. It depended on the time of year. I'm not saying an hour is the right amount of time. Please don't do that. Don't say, Dr. Williams said I just have to spend an hour on this. It depended on the subject. But that helped me because it also gave me a goal that I knew after this period of time, I could transition to another subject. And I also had like a sense of accomplishment. Even if I didn't get to where I wanted to be, I knew that I dedicated time to try to better myself in that particular topic for that amount of time. So those are a few things about me. Yeah.
And what did you do when you felt stuck on your goals or direction? What do you do now?
What do I do now? I read a lot, and I think we all have a circle of people who we reach out to. Those people who are always going to share what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and they help balance everyone, or not other people who's just telling you kind of what they think you want to hear, what they think is going to make you feel good. And you need those people in your life who are going to say, I think this, I love you, and I think this. So I think reaching out to that support group has helped me immensely. And just when I'm stuck, I ask people questions, and learning from different people's lived experiences sometimes help me get quote unquote like unstuck. I can see how people navigate things differently, and that helps me to navigate my world because it expands my horizons and my thought process. So.
Great. All right, we have a question right here.
Calm down, you all. Just calm down. Hi, I'm Dana Baker, counseling faculty of Rockville campus. And what I want to say is more of a request than a question. You mentioned just now when you were talking about your life experiences as a student, one of the ways that Montgomery College has helped students to transfer from high school to college, to understand the process, to move forward, has been through our student development freshman seminar courses. So that's the first part. What happened was a few years back, when the state lessened the number of credits, we had a lot of programs that had to remove that course, and consequently a lot of our students didn't get that unfettered support that they were getting previously. So if there is a way that we can help to try to get it so that the state at least puts that one credit back into curricula, I think it would be a wonderful thing for our students, and also would help them in their journey of understanding that this is not MCPS. It's a wonderful place, but it's not that. Understand why they needed to show up to class yesterday. Oops. And yes, that was a mess. And then also helping them to understand the path moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. A couple of thoughts come to mind. The Transfer with Success Act comes to mind, and how we're navigating through that, and that's a process that has just started. So seeing what that looks like, and obviously having students transfer and making sure if they're here for 2 years that it means 2 years, right? And how do we? But we want them to get to 2 years. And we know that the type of course that you mentioned is helping them do that, right? So how do we reconcile all that? As someone who was a coordinator of first year programs and oversaw manage that, I see deep value in it, and I know that it can be extremely impactful. So thank you for sharing those thoughts.
Okay. Any questions in the room? Don't be shy. I will take it.
We have students here.
But if not, I have a question from Afi Stella Deshu. Just graduated from the nursing program at Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus. This is a 4-part question.
Okay.
How do you define success? How do you motivate people? How do you handle difficult situations, criticism? What is your management style? I can repeat any of it if you forget. No worries.
All right. Well, first and most importantly, congratulations. You just graduated, right? That's fantastic. How do I manage?
Define success.
Define
and motivate people.
So I think that definition of success can change based on what you're pursuing. So I think it's well, I don't want to say it's a moving target. I think you have a measurable goal for a certain project or initiative or organization or whatever, but that may change based on where you're positioned, right? I am overjoyed and truly humbled to have the role of president of Montgomery College. My role at home is dad. Success is totally different at home. So I say that as a kind of an example of, I think the measure of success is, it depends. It needs to be tempered and identified with actually what you're pursuing. And so there's that. How do I motivate people? I think it's really around trying to find commonality in what we're doing. I think that's the piece. If everyone can identify that we're here to ensure that students experience post-completion success, right? So that they make a good living and have a good life, right? Oversimplification of that, right? But we can get motivated around that, right? Now, how we do that, there's a lot of ideas about how we do it. But the beauty is that we can all get motivated around that idea. We can get motivated around bold ideas of, decreasing poverty rates, right? We can get motivated around great ideas around all of our educational experiences having economic, social, and community impact. Now, how we do it, that's going to take a lot of thoughtful conversation, but we can get motivated around these kind of underpinnings that are going to help us move forward. And as long as we keep coming back to that and knowing that we're all seeking that same outcome, I think then you have motivation. 2 and 3 and 4.
How do you handle difficult situations, criticism, and your management style?
I think a lot. I pause. I take a breath. I grew up in a house. I was the youngest, primarily as my brother and I, but it was still, I didn't really talk a lot unless someone, talked to you. So now, I've had to fight this kind of overwhelming desire to talk and get everything out as quickly as I can, because I don't know when I can talk again. So, and I also talk quickly because I'm excited about what we do, and I'm very passionate and I'm energetic. But some of it stems from that. So I've learned to pause. It gives me time to actually hear and listen. It gives me time to reflect. It gives other people time to share their thoughts, which is fantastic. And take all that in, and that's one of the things that I do. I smile a lot. I think that helps situations, puts people at ease, makes me feel better. It's actually a physiological reaction when you smile, releases endorphins. So, did I miss one? I feel like I missed one.
Your management style.
Oh, that depends. That's a quick answer. But it truly depends on what we're doing. It depends on what we're doing, who you're partnering with, what your positionality is within that goal. If you're on being on a board is different than being your everyday professional role, right? If you're on a volunteer board, so going out, so it depends, I think, on where you are and what you want to do. I think it's, but one of the pieces I would say about it depends is, for me, it's recognizing where you are. It's the situational awareness and the context. That's really key to help me determine what type of leadership style I would use at any given time.
Okay. Any questions? If not, I will go to it's one submitted by Francine Warren. She is managing producer and director at MCTV. And the question is, you are nearing the end of your first year at MC. What has been the best part of your MC experience so far, and what are you most looking forward to?
that's like boil it down to one. I mean, I think it's the people. I mean, it's the people. You know, obviously it's the students. There's also the faculty and the staff who support the students and help the students identify their goals and achieve their goals. That's the biggest piece.
Great. So we have a few that these aren't necessarily submitted questions, but they are circulating.
All right.
So what struck you most about the Achieving the Dream conference? Any new strategies?
Lots of strategies. You know, new. I don't know. I don't know if there were new to Montgomery College or new to the community college world. I'm not sure how the person is asking the question. I would say this about kind of new strategies, though. I'm a firm believer of adaptation and not adoption. So if we do see something that worked really well and we say, wow, I think that's great, then I would invite us. I would expect that we think about our context, how that works at Montgomery College, because our student demographic may be different, because our geography may be different, because of X, Y, and Z. But I would say this, there were a lot of exciting initiatives and strategies that were shared at Achieving the Dream.
Okay.
So.
We have a question from Nancy Newton. She's in the Office of Grants and Sponsored Programs. She's a Sponsored Programs Manager. So we are 1 week away from celebrating your first anniversary here at MC. Many congratulations. How would you rate your first year experience at MC?
What's the scale? Is it like 1? Is that one be like 10 if the scale's 100 and it's like?
Let's say 1 to 10.
It's a 10. It's obviously it's a 10. And I'll say there's a philosophical approach that I believe in scales. So I'm not a person who'd be like, it's just my opinion. Like I won't say I feel like 150%. Because I don't, it's like 100% is like, so it's 1 to 10, right? So if 10's a scale, 10's a top, then it's an absolute 10 with fireworks, exclamation points, smiley face emojis, fist bumps, hand claps, strong arm, everything you can fit in there.
Okay, good. So another question circulating is, will the college make any changes to class modalities now that the pandemic conditions are easing?
I would think, so let me contextualize changes. I would posit that we would always make changes, again, based on what students need, right? And I think that's going to change essentially, if we have different curricula, if we have different students who, we're trying to support and we realize that, okay, there's a certain population of students that really needs X, Y, and Z course, program, more virtual, more face-to-face. I think we need to consistently change, but that change needs to be predicated on the students who we're serving and the residents who we seek to serve. So I think I'll kind of reframe that, and I would say, I hope if we were to stay the same with anything, it is because we've effectively evaluated the efficacy, the impact on students, and we're doing it for a purpose. Otherwise, I think change with purpose is healthy, and I encourage it.
Okay, so I have a question from Minte. He's at the Community Engagement Center.
Okay.
And the question is, what do you accomplish in 1 year here at MC? How can we, staff and faculty, learn from your accomplishments?
Okay.
Questions. What
did we accomplish? So it's a big place. There's very little that I do on my own. So I'm gonna put that out there. But in terms of, I would say one of the biggest pieces that I think as together is relationship building. I think there's been a lot of relationship building that has occurred in the last year with students, with faculty, with staff, with our community partners, our business partners, our elected officials, and I think that's that's key, and that was huge for me, and I hope it was huge for everyone in the room and everyone who's watching. I think in terms of how we continue to help each other is we continue to build those relationships. Because those relationships help us identify our path forward. Then we listen to our business partners, we listen to our students, we listen to our residents, we listen to our faculty and staff. The more we can deepen, strengthen those partnerships, I think the more we can cultivate an environment where we're, feeling very psychologically safe. We're feeling vulnerable enough to share when, maybe we don't have all the answers, or we need help, or we need some guidance, and we have a difference of opinion. But I know that I can share that, and we can have a conversation of intellectual curiosity that's again going to work towards our end goal. So I think that relationship building is key, and I look forward to more of it. And I hope a lot of people feel the same about the first year. So.
Quick reminder, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I will come around. But also, if you're watching online, you can go to montgomerycollege.edu/town hall and submit your question right there. So I have one other question. Can you tell us about what is happening with the enrollment plan, and when should we expect to know more?
I can. Would you like to know?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there's two questions. All right. So yes, and I may kick it over to Dr. Brown, but very excited about the enrollment management plan that I know a lot of individuals have been working diligently on. This is not a new conversation at the college. There's been conversations over the years about how do we attract students and our residents, those who we seek to serve. How do we keep them here? How do we ensure that they can either transfer with 2 years equaling 2 years, or go directly into the workforce, or a combination of both, as many of our students do. So I know that we are, and I will pass it over to Dr. Brown, we're in the process of finalizing a draft, which it'll be shared, I think, with me this week or next week, and I'm going to ask Dr. Brown to share a little bit more.
I would say you've shared where we are at this point. I want to thank you all for participating in the many sessions that were held, whether you were able to do it online or in person, to provide information that will help and has helped in developing the strategic enrollment management plan, and thinking about the work that we need to do to attract residents to become students at Montgomery College, but to also retain our students in an environment that is welcoming and where we all together help create a sense of belonging that make us want to be here and our students want to stay. So I've been able to work with my colleagues who are sitting here, as this is work that is being facilitated by Dr. Kimberly McNair, but it is our work collectively. And so we look forward to submitting the draft to Dr. Williams by the end of the week, and then continuing this work. This is ongoing work. It is not static. It will be ongoing work as long as we are an open college, an open enrollment institution. Our enrollment management plan will need to be updated as we respond to the needs of our students. And so it's exciting. As Dr. Williams said, this isn't a new conversation, but we're so grateful to be here and to have an opportunity to think very deeply about how we support students.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
If there are no more questions, no, we have a question.
This is when I start asking everyone questions.
Hi, I'm Melissa Pace with MCTV, and I have been thinking about mental health and mental wellness of our students and young people in their 20s, and the barriers or the stigma about asking for help. And I know the college has a lot of great programs, and the Shaw Center and other things to provide assistance to students or employees, but how do we go about helping some of the ones who perhaps need it the most be aware of the resource and remove the stigma of asking for help?
I think, thank you for the question. I think we have to have that conversation. I don't know that I have that answer. I think we stay committed to doing that and finding the individuals and ensuring that we can, I don't want to say help them avail themselves, because I feel like our narrative, it needs to be different in terms of, what are we doing now that we could be doing differently? And I think that's kind of my my response to that question would be, if we know there's students out there who need support and we know we're not reaching them, right? What are we doing internally, right? Not on a continuum of good and bad. That's not what I'm talking about. But we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of levers that we can pull and buttons that we can push. How do we get to the students? How do we get to the faculty and staff who are not utilizing resources? And I think it's going to be, and I say that, I think that requires to know the lived experiences of the individuals who we're trying to impact. I have a very different lived experience, and help-seeking behavior was not something, that was inculcated throughout my childhood. It's something that I had to learn, and something I had to learn how to embrace and be proud of, and not be ashamed of. That's a lived reality of one person and probably some other people, right? But there's other lived realities, and I think if we want to reach the individuals who we're not reaching, we have to find a way to understand their lived realities, number one, so we have to get to them. And then number two, we have to listen and change, right? Which is not new for us. There's a lot of programs and initiatives at Montgomery College because we've listened and changed. I think we just need to apply that strategy to whatever need and support and opportunity that we have. And it sounds like we have an opportunity that you just shared. So,
With that, I'm going to thank you, Dr. Williams. We don't have any more questions. And I want to thank everyone here in the room. And for those of you who watched us online, do save the date for our next opportunity with Dr. Williams, which is the State of the College Address on April 20th. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
thank you.